Welcome back to The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I'd like to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the Black community, hopefully for some type of resolution or at least some food for thought to go about your daily way. So, without further ado, I'd like to jump into this episode's topic, which I really didn't know what to name it. I was in between both names, so I guess one of the titles will be a subtitle. But it goes a little something like this: Why would you do to a woman what you claim your father did to your mother? Does the Black man see the Black woman through the eyes of the white slave master? So, I wanted to touch on a little bit of history. As you well know, if you've never listened before, I'll let you know I'm a little bit, of a person that likes to, talk about history a little bit because if you don't know your history, you are bound to repeat it. And for those of you that do know, I like to do a little quote from history to help us with the present as Black people. So this history, these are quotes and excerpts taken from the Willie Lynch letter. Excuse me, the Willie Lynch letter. So what made me take excerpts from the Willie Lynch letter was I was on a particular brother's YouTube platform. He has a fairly large platform. I wasn't going to mention his name, but I am going to mention his name. His name is Minister Jap, so that's JAP. And I had never came across his platform before. And, he had a Mother's Day special. So, he's talking about Black women in a very negative way, and he's using his platform basically to really degrade Black women, calling them out of their names, and there's no resolution. So there's a group of Black men, they're dogging out, Black women in all sorts of ways. And, that's what I've been talking about. As Black people, we can talk until we're blue in the face, we can continue to talk about each other. The Black man hating the Black woman, the Black woman hating the Black man, but yet it's getting us nowhere. So I want to jump into the history part. So this is one of the excerpts from Willie Lynch, the Willie Lynch letter. And a lot of people dispute whether Willie Lynch ever existed or not. But one thing that cannot be disputed is the methods that are listed in the Willie Lynch letter are very much so prevalent, realistic, and very much alive in the lives of Black men and women today. So, you must use the female versus the male and the male versus the female. But it is necessary that your slaves depend on us. Okay, so everything that I was hearing, on this particular platform, and even in the hearts and minds of a lot of our brothers and sisters, we're against each other. We've been psychologically bred through generation after generation to be against each other, Black man and woman. Both horse and Negroes are no good to the economy in the wild or natural state. Okay, so they're basically saying we're no good to this country, okay, when we're in our natural, Kemetic, ancient African, Nubian goddess and god state. We're no good for them. We're no good for their country, okay? Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production, okay? So they're saying that our minds have to be broken, basically, that we can continue to produce slaves, Black slave children, for production to work for them. We have to be broken to do that, so we won't think independently, basically. Okay? For orderly future, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. Both must be crossbred to produce a variety and division of labor. And when you look at today, you look at the Black woman today, and you look at the Black man today, our mating practices, they closely resemble slavery plantation practices. We have all these children, which is a beautiful thing. But like I said in one other episode, we're not having a quality, we're not producing children that have a quality future. We're producing children that are troubled psychologically because of the environment that they're growing up into. Let me continue. If you break the female mother, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. So I want to repeat that again. If you break the female mother, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. And so I want to continue back to this platform of this troubled brother. I'm going to say troubled brother, okay? So he's going on about, how these black women are raising criminalistic children, how they're spewing their hatred of the father through the child. And, it's one thing, this right here is very true, with a lot of black mothers, but the black man needs to understand this is a scientific, psychological recipe for any race of woman. And let's point out a few figures here. White women, when they're left alone with the child and they're betrayed, what do? They'll poison their child, they'll kill their child, they'll do all sorts of things to their child when that man has betrayed their life and left them in poverty and stress with a child. And the black man needs to understand, okay, that when you leave a woman, especially if she wasn't a prostitute and she just didn't want a baby just to get money, and you know the difference. A black man knows the difference. And you leave a woman, some women can chalk it up, they'll pray and they'll do the best they can. But some women, and it's not in a woman's nature to handle, so regardless of color, to handle the pressure of a man dogging her, calling her out of her name, in which I seen several of the black men doing in this particular chat room. They were calling women all out of their names, talking about them horrifically. And if you closed your eyes, it sounded like a white slave master talking about black women, actually. But these were black men. And so, if black women are being treated like this and they're raising your child, you're abusing her. What do you think is going to happen to your children? And I encourage the black man to really think about what I'm saying. If you're abusing the mother, if you're calling her bees and you're she's struggling and you're saying I don't care and you just struggle out in poverty, what do you think could happen to your child? And we talked about the white women. The white man knows this. Any man of any um, common sense knows that you cannot leave your child in a destitute situation with a woman. We're not psychologically, emotionally, um, really, you know, capable of really raising a child 100% correct without the father involved. Okay. And I want to continue. So basically, oh, and I also want to say leaving any woman with children increases the risk of abuse because the mother is traumatized and because of stress. So I want to continue. Take the stud horse. So this is, they're referring to the black man. Take the stud horse, break for a limited containment. Okay? Completely break the female horse until she becomes very gentle, whereas you or anybody can ride her in her comfort. That's deep right there. When you really think about what they're saying, they're saying basically, contain the black man and let him run free. Basically to run wild and free. He's gonna run wild and free if he's been contained. So he's sleeping with anybody, he's sleeping with whoever, because this is his free time, basically, and completely break the female horse. So they're referring to the black woman, until she becomes gentle. whereas anybody can ride her. So I've heard other black men say before, and they're like, this black, bitch, this black HOE, she'll screw anybody, and they're laughing about it, and they're saying black women are nothing but HOEs, and this is something because this is excerpt from a white man, a slave owner, and to hear our own black men, talk about a black woman like that, and just to see. How the black man and the black woman has been broken down psychologically and mentally to destroy each other throughout the generations, and how Willie Lynch is, or whoever it is, okay, how these methods still exist with us as black people. And to see how broken down the black woman is in 2021, and to see her in her confused state, and not all black women and not all men, but just to see the promiscuity and the comfort level of our women being promiscuous because of the broken image of the black man and of her own self image. Let me continue. It troubles me to hear black men call black women HOEs. It really does. And so I want to continue on with the excerpt. If the female Negro shows any signs of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the bitch out of her. And this is a slave master talking, okay? So this is, European, this is them talking about a black woman. And I think what troubles me, especially the black man, in the home, and not all black men, but this is referring to the subject at hand here, ladies and gentlemen. I heard a black man in the chat room, and this black man represents a lot of black men's mentality, not all, but a lot of them in this day and age. And I want to quote what he said. He said, he loves abused black women to abuse them more. He also said he loves a black woman that's been hurt and raped by her father. He loves a black woman that has mother issues, that she has no support. He said, because I love to break that bee down so that she'll never want to be in a relationship again. And this is a black man on Mother's Day, in the evening time, 2021, May 9th. And so I'm sitting back listening to this and observing this, and I'm like, wow, this is a black man saying this. This is not a white slave master. This is not Willie Lynch. This is a black man saying this. And look at the hatred, the hatred of the black woman, and it's a domino effect here. Okay. So what we have is we had a black man and a black woman. Okay. They had a child. Who knows what situation it derived from. I don't know if it was drug usage, a prostitution, an affair with a married man, or if they were both married. But this is at the heart of the black man and woman in this generation. So, the black man and woman didn't work out. The black woman is left with a child. And, you know, a lot of black men are saying that black women are failing to raise the children properly. When I have a question for the black man, how do you as a black man know what it takes to raise a child if you're not in the household every day with the child? So how do you know what it takes, and how and what measurement and what temperament should be used if you don't have hands-on experience every day with the child? Okay. um and to see him, talk about black women like that. And what's going on is, once the man leaves out the house, and the black women, they're going through all sorts of psychological trauma. And what that does is, every time she sees the child, she is abusive to the child, emotionally abusive, physically abusive to the child, because of the flashbacks of the father. And For any black men that may be listening, basically, whatever caused you to leave the household, so whatever hatred or dislike that caused you to leave the household, and alleviate your duties as a father and a husband to the house, imagine you being left in the situation with the child, um, and you still have those same feelings. Bad things can happen to children, and there's no justification for it. But I believe that both black men and black women need to start understanding the psychodynamics behind what it takes to raise a child and not just be breeders. Okay, so we need to transition from being slave plantation breeders to actually raising productive citizens that's going to help out our race of people and not just be slaves. But let me continue. So it also goes on to say in the Willie Lynch letter, in her natural state, she has a tendency to depend on the male Negro. And that's deep. So they're basically saying that in a black woman's natural state, so in her correct mind, she has a tendency to depend on her black man. That's a beautiful thing. A black woman depending on the black man. And I think that's been taken away from the black woman so much. And it's been taken away from the black man too to be able to be accountable. He hasn't even been able to, save his own life. So of course, naturally, it's hard for him to protect his own women and children. And he can't even protect his own life in this country. But just to hear those words kind of brings tears to my eyes. It says in her natural state, she has a tendency to depend on the male Negro, but in a positive way, she has been known to depend on her black man. It also goes on to say, but we must reverse her dependency on the male Negro, have her and slave children eating out of our hands. So basically, they said they had to reverse, okay, reverse her dependency on the black man and put it toward the white man. And basically, that's the system. In 2021, you hear a lot of black men complaining and saying, black women think they're something. They've got child support, they've got food stamps, they've got cash assistance. Well, here it is right here. So there's nothing new under the sun. Since it's been made that the black man's off being wild, so he's been contained in prison. He's not making the money. He's not getting educated. So whenever he gets free, that's one thing that the black man has been known to have access to is to breed and to have multiple women. So, so basically, um, hold on. Yeah, so basically, the black woman, she's left in the house to, have to provide for the children. A lot of times, sometimes black men aren't caring about that. So that's causing a domino effect of black women to have to depend on some way to feed their children. Okay, because it is hard. So not every black woman is lazy. It's hard to work when you have those little children, and if more black men were in the home, they would see how tough it is to raise a child, especially on one income, and even with the mother being there. That's why it takes two. That's why God made a woman to have a child with both male and female counterparts present. Um, so it also goes on to say, so that the Negro female and offspring are totally dependent on us. It doesn't that sound familiar? And I know a lot of black men complain that the black woman, she heavily depends on the system. And I think us as black people, we're in a state of a victim mentality because if we would get ourselves together, and this, like I said, starts with the young children. So some of us are already ruined. Unfortunately, some of our brains are so mentally contorted that we cannot psychologically reverse the effects of what's been done to us. So it would have to start with the little children and bringing them up. But the black male child, and the female child, they both have to be raised like that in civilized manner. So it can't be just females learning, how to, you know, um, be the woman that they're supposed to be, and the men are not doing it because all that will cause is women to be getting abused by, wretched men, and it can't be just men learning how to be civilized and correct to women, because then, the men would be getting married to wretched women. So it has to be done on both, so that both the civilized black male and the civilized black female can get together in a union and create black civilized children. Okay, so let me continue. We reverse nature by turning and pulling a civilized Negro apart and bullwhipping him to the point of death, all in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychologically dependent state to a frozen independent state. And that's deep. And I spoke on this before, they purposely, killed, tortured, and burned, black women, excuse me, black men in front of the black woman so that she would, be dependent, on the slave master. And she had no faith in her, black male because she seen how he was, being killed. And it's also going on today. It's also going on today. They're, quick to show the black woman that the black man still has no power over his own life, so that you better be submissive if you want some bread and water, basically. And it's destroyed our image of our black men. We have so many of our black men, like I said, getting out of prison and homosexuality. Those men are no use to the black female. To be quite honest, so I'm not, having anything against the lesbian gay community, but it's just reality. They have no use to the black woman, with the black man being like that, and with the black man's psyche being damaged by being raised by single mothers, and the black mothers being so outraged and mentally ill themselves that they abuse their children, their male children, and the father not being around. So all 100% can't go on the black woman. It has to be 50-50 with the black male as well. But the buck must stop somewhere, though. And that's why I encourage the black man, if you've seen what happened to your mother, you know, why do it to another woman? Okay, it's time for black men to take some control over their sexuality. If you claim that women don't want to use condoms, and you claim that women are trying to trap you, um, why would you have unprotected sex? Not like she's choking your neck and making you have unprotected sex. You must take responsibility and say, hey, I'm not going to, have unprotected sex with this lady. I'm going to get to know who she is. Forget the size of what her buttocks and her breasts are. What do you have to bring to the table? What are your morals? What are your values? And what do you see about the longevity in a marriage of raising children together? Because certain wise men know that their sperm is connected to their lineage and their wallet. Okay, so I know black men have not all black men, but they have this tendency to just sow their oats everywhere. you know. And one of the brothers on there said, that's why I got three or four side women. And I'm like, well, that's why you've got three or four child support obligations, brother. Don't you understand? That's how it goes for all men, for all races of men. But some men just understand, hey, I don't, and I'm not condoning cheating or infidelity, but certain other races of men, they all have the same problems. They have infidelity, but they know, hey, I better not, have that baby with this harlot. You were a good time, but I'm not gonna, have you knocking on my door, destroying my family, and then now I've got the harlot and my wife got me on child support. Black men need to start thinking. They gotta start thinking, okay? Um, keep going. So basically, to leave the black woman alone, and I think that's deep with the psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. We're always talking about, black women, being independent and, how strong she is. But look at how she was made, made to be independent by being psychologically in a frozen state through trauma. Okay. I mean, that's something right then and there, Um, I'm going to cut this short because this is getting long. There's going to be a part two to this. It's been a pleasure talking with you all. Please stay tuned for part two. If you'd like to get in contact with me, if you have any questions or suggestions, you can contact me at thetruthwithtrinity.com. You can also listen to my podcast on YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify. And always remember, if you can't tell the truth with anyone else, you can with Trinity. Till next time, take care.